A family portrait of the Baden Clays in happier times. On the surface, it was a picture-perfect family, but what lurked beneath would lead to a murder mystery that gripped Queensland and changed lives forever.
Please, please, help us to find our dear Allison.
On the 19th of April 2012, Gerard Baden Clay said his wife went for a walk and never came home. Those who loved her most couldn't explain why.
Because there are three beautiful little girls of Allison wanting to see their mother as soon as possible.
In those early days, Gerard was not a person of interest. Police were searching for a missing person. But that would soon change. Within days, and no sign of 43-year-old Allison, police started to close in, raiding the family's Brookfield home, his parents' residence, and the family real estate business.
Why are the police here this morning? Do you know why they were here?
All the while, the painstaking search for Allison continued, on motorbike, horseback and foot, as her family and a community held its breath.
We were hoping that these prayers would go all over this area.
10 days after she was last seen, neighbours started to come forward about screams that may or may not have been Allison.
There's been reports of a scream, but I think that was probably related to the teenagers personally.
On April 30, any hope of finding Allison alive was lost with the discovery of a body up to 14 kilometres away at Colo Creek.
You can confirm today that a positive identification has been made of the female located yesterday at Mount Crosby Road, as confirmed with the missing person, Allison Baden Clay.
For the Dickies, it was the most heartbreaking of news. Pretty soon the command post was no longer and the search scaled down, but the questioning was ramped up. Enter Tony McHugh. At that stage she was simply a colleague, but it wouldn't be long before Gerard Baden Clay's world would unravel and her role as his mistress became known. While police worked behind the scenes, a final goodbye was said.
Today, the earth has lost a loving, caring, selfless woman.
The detectives who stood by the family's side vowed to find Allison's killer. 8 weeks from the day he reported his wife missing, Gerard Baden Clay was arrested and charged with his wife's murder.
Mr Baden Clay maintains his innocence. He is devastated and his intention is clearly to defend the charge vigorously.
Gerard's family began a donation drive, trying desperately to raise the $30,000 needed for his bail hearing to proceed. It was pointless. On the 22nd of June, bail was refused. All the while, 3 little girls were left to face life without their mum, and quite possibly their dad. Allison's parents were granted custody and seized control of her assets, while a freeze was made on Allison's life insurance. On the 11th of March last year, prosecutors tested their case against Gerard Baden Clay with a committal hearing. They admitted it was a circumstantial case, but he had financial and personal motive and was ordered to stand trial, remaining in jail until the opening address on the 10th of June. 2 anniversaries have come and gone since that fateful night. A moment in time when a mother lost her life, a father was blamed, and 3 little girls were left to always wonder why. Jane Henschke, 10 Eyewitness News.
Well, first it was the murder trial which fascinated a nation and had everyone asking the question, did Brisbane real estate agent Gerard Baden Clay kill his wife Allison, or did she take her own life devastated by her husband's many infidelities? In the end, it took just 22 hours for a jury to unanimously agree that he did it. Gerard Baden Clay sobbed as the guilty verdict was handed down. And now we're joined by Queensland Police Commissioner Ian Stewart, live from Brisbane. Commissioner, a very good morning to you. First up, I would just like to commend, as many people would, Queensland Police on the incredible investigation and policing work that went into this. This morning I read that the policing went as far as bugging Allison Baden Clay's coffin in order to get a confession. Can you tell us a little bit more about what went on behind the scenes?
Our job, obviously, is to collect the facts wherever those facts may lie, and we use a range of methodologies, and as quite rightly reported in the paper, today. We used some quite unique ideas to try and gather evidence in relation to this tragic incident.
Commissioner, it seems apparent that the police thought that he had done this terrible deed. And I was puzzled by the way that the defence kept using the cuts on his face, which he said were shaving cuts, but are the finger marks of his late wife. Was there any forensic evidence gathered from the body? Was there DNA in her nails?
There was material under her nails, but we were never able to specifically link that DNA to any particular person. The DNA wasn't good enough because of the decomposition of the body and the material.
Right.
And one of the things that really impressed me, Commissioner, was some of the Sherlock Holmes-style sleuthing. There was one of your officers looked at the car of Gerard Baden Clay and thought it was very strange that a car that appeared so new had so much clutter in it, like kids' toys and stuff, which struck me as an incredibly sort of smart way to kind of deduce that something wasn't quite right. Can you tell us a little bit about that and some of the other clues that set you off down investigating Gerard Baden Clay?
I think the real story here is that our police missed nothing, and that's the critical issue in these matters. We've learned our lessons from cases in the past that from the get-go you've got to be aware that there may be many different options that will come from that simple phone call that tells us that someone's missing. And that's exactly what happened in this case. You've probably heard some of the 000 call. Our people never let up from that moment, looking for clues that ultimately led to finding her body and the investigation and the court case that now has occurred.
Commissioner, one thing that struck me as well yesterday was seeing some of your colleagues outside the court wearing yellow ties in solidarity with Allison Baden Clay and her family. Clearly there was a very close connection between the police and Allison's family.
It's one of the great challenges that we have. Obviously, it's human nature that we get emotionally involved, and our police quite rightly describe it as actually getting to know Allison and her family, of course, and they did. But besides that, and in parallel, they have to remain objective so we don't miss things in the investigation.
Yep. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Commissioner, yesterday we saw Gerard Baden Clay sentenced to 15 years or life in jail, which is essentially 15 years non-parole. Do you think that that is an adequate sentence?
Look, that's the law and that's how the system works. And can I say that in this country I truly believe that we have the best justice system in the world. And again yesterday we saw the results of a jury that really took their responsibility very, very seriously. They went for 22 hours considering all of the facts, and they came back with the outcome that they did. I think that the whole community should have confidence that with the police investigation, the prosecution team and the wonderful work that they did, and the work that the court did, including the jury, that we really are lucky in this country.
And finally, some justice for Allison Baden Clay's family. What a stellar job the Queensland Police have done in this investigation. Commissioner Ian Stewart, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure.